I purchased most of my luxury handbags years ago. In fact, quite a number of them have been in my luxury bag collection for more than 10 years. Seeing my collection is fairly curated, I do rotate my pieces and I try to put them to use as much as possible. Today, I'm going to share the wear and tear of my designer handbags. Let's start with my Hermes handbags first. This Hermes Birkin 25 is my all-time favorite, and this has always been one of my most used luxury handbags. And considering how much I've been using this, it has held up incredibly well. So this is made of Epsom leather, which I absolutely adore. This kind of leather is quite stiff, which means the bag will maintain the shape and structure perfectly well. I do use a bag insert now, but before I got this, I actually had been using this bag for several years without a bag insert. But even then, this bag was always perfectly structured. The main reason that I use a bag insert now is really to prevent scratches on the inside. When I use this Birkin 25, I don't really baby it because it feels really durable. In fact, this leather is meant to be water resistant. For the sake of this video, I inspected every corner of the bag and I can see a very light scuffing on the front. It's more obvious when I look at it from the side under the light. On the side, there's also a very tiny scratch on the strap. Now, as much as I love the Epsom leather, there is drawback with this kind of leather because if you somehow get a scratch, it can be quite tricky to refurbish the leather. To be honest, it doesn't really bother me because I have been using this bag a lot, so in my opinion, this has done really well. For a top handle bag, I must say I'm really impressed with how the handles have kept their shapes because they look exactly the same like they did on day one, which I really appreciate. In terms of the hardware, well, I actually still have my stickers on, so there are no scratches. Now I know I should remove them, but so far I haven't seen any tarnishing, so I guess we'll see. I'm actually thinking to send this Birkin 25 for a spa service at Hermes later this year, just to freshen things up. Before I move on to my next Hermes handbag, I want to thank Idol for sponsoring this video. As you already know, I love a good luxury handbag. But to be honest, I love my fine jewelry pieces even more. For me, my jewelry pieces have much better value for money because I get to wear them pretty much all the time, even when I travel. I've spoken about the Idol diamond earrings many times before. Their add-on pieces are so well made, versatile, and downright stunning. But today, I want to share this very special necklace with you guys. So this is the Charlie Choker, and isn't this breathtakingly beautiful? Now, I personally like my necklaces to be quite dainty and simple because once I put on the necklace, I tend to leave it for months at a time. So it's nice to have something that I can easily style with everything. This necklace really speaks to me because even though it's really delicate, it makes such a statement, which makes it the perfect everyday jewelry. What more, there are 3 settings, so you can personalize the styling depending on your outfits. Idol pieces feature lab-grown diamonds, which means they are a lot more sustainable. I personally absolutely enjoy their pieces, and I really think you will too. Now let's move on to the wear and tear of my second Hermes handbag. So this is the Hermes Kelly Cellier 25 in the color gold. This again is in Epsom leather, and I think this is the perfect leather choice for this handbag because this bag is supposed to look really elegant and structured. Now I have looked and looked, and I can confirm that there's not even one scratch or any kind of scuffing on the leather. The only wear and tear I have noticed is on the leather around the buckle. There's a very faint dent right above the buckle, and this basically comes from the pressure that I put on the flap when I open the bag. As you can see, I have to angle the leather flap slightly to open the bag. And every time I do it, I'm almost bending the leather. To be honest, it's not very obvious, but I thought I should mention it because that's the only sign of wear that I can see. I also want to point out that the stitching of this bag is in white color. That was actually one of the reasons I was so attracted to this bag because I think the contrast is so beautiful. However, I was a little bit worried about color transfer. So far, thankfully, the stitching still looks as good as new, which is wonderful. In terms of hardware, I expected to see a bit of scratches, especially on the rings where the shoulder strap attaches, but there's hardly anything. I'm quite surprised to be honest because even though I always prefer to carry this Kelly 25 as a top handle bag, I never actually remove the shoulder strap like I might do with my other bags. So the fact that the hardware is still looking brand new is quite impressive. That being said, if you're interested in getting an Hermes Kelly Soulier, I just want you to know that you will see scratches on the inside surface of this buckle. The only way to avoid scratches is by making sure that the key is perfectly aligned with the hole of the buckle every time you close the bag, which in my opinion is quite impossible to do, especially when you're in a rush. As you can see, the sticker is starting to peel away, and when it's gone, I can imagine there will be quite a bit of wear and tear here. The inside looks brand new because I do use a bag insert. Now, leather interior is luxurious, but I personally don't mind buying luxury handbags with fabric lining because they are actually a lot easier to look after. Next is the Hermes Kelly 28 Vuitton, and this one is in Togo leather. This bag has always been one of my least used luxury handbags, so it might have affected the wear and tear. Now, first of all, I was shocked to see quite a bit of tarnishing on the hardware, specifically the rings where the shoulder strap attaches. At first, I thought it was just a reflection of the twilly because the twilly does have a dark purple color palette, but when I looked closer, I was taken aback. But anyway, this is apparently something that Hermes will take care of during the spa service, so I'm not overly worried or upset. In fact, this is exactly why I've been so intentional when it comes to expanding my luxury bag collection. The reality is, with every new bag we buy, there will always be maintenance and aftercare in the long run. This sometimes can be quite an expense, so we should never overlook it. Anyway, there are some scratches on the feet, which I guess is quite understandable because the whole point of having feet is to protect the leather. That said, compared to the Kelly 25, there are actually less scratches on this part of the hardware. As you can see, the hole of the buckle on the Kelly 28 is quite a bit bigger than on the 25, which means you don't have to position the key as perfectly to close the bag. So basically, you can kind of avoid contacting the hardware if you just pay a little bit more attention when you close the bag. Like I said before, I didn't actually notice the metal tarnishing before I decided to do this video. But one thing that has always stood out to me is the curving of this leather flap. I'm not sure if you can see, but since a few years ago, this part of the leather has always been curving up slightly. I think this is maybe because of the repeated opening and closing because each time I open the bag, I do have to bend the leather flap slightly. And of course, each time I do it, I'm basically applying pressure to this leather flap. Another reason is because of the bag design itself. You see, when I store the bag, I always put the straps together and in a way they are like an elastic band, causing the slight curvature of the leather flap. This is something I don't see with my Kelly Soulier, probably because the Abson leather is so stiff. In contrast, the Togo leather is quite a bit softer than Abson leather. And I think this is supposed to be one of the most popular leathers for Hermes lovers. The pro for this leather is that it is fairly scratch resistant, and if you do get a scratch, it's reasonably easy to restore as well. However, because the leather is quite soft, it won't keep the shape of your bag perfectly. Even though I don't use this Kelly 28 that much, I can already see signs of slouching. For example, the top handle is tilting forward ever so slightly. And I can also see the top part of the bag curving inward. It's almost like the bag is collapsing forward. So when I store this bag, I always make sure to put in airbags to try to keep the bag fully supported from top to bottom. So I can imagine if you use this bag a lot, you simply cannot stop it from slouching. The good thing is, however, there are no scratches or any kind of light scuffing on the leather. So I guess it really depends on your personal taste. I know some people love their bags to show more character and they don't mind the slouching. But I personally prefer a more structured look, which is why I tend to prefer my Kelly Sellier to the Kelly Vuitton. Now, my intention was to review the wear and tear of all my luxury handbags, but I don't want this video to get too long, so I'm going to stop here, but I will come back with a part 2 in 2 weeks' time. Until then, take care and I will see you soon.